What's the bug in the computer? That's why.
Not that thingy. There we go. Not that thingy either. There we go. Good morning. This is God. We ended with this last week. I'll be handling all your problems today, says God. I might need your help. So have a good day. And then we also ended with the Bible verse from Haggai, chapter 2 and verse 8, where God says these words, it all belongs to me. The silver is mine, and the gold also is mine. It all belongs to God. I have two questions I'd like to ask you this morning, and it'll lead us to our Bible verses that we'll be reading in a minute. But some of you ask yourself first. Rhetorical questions. You don't have to answer them out loud. Although if you did, it wouldn't freak me out. But you don't have to answer these things out loud. But just at least to think about it. Two questions that we can ask ourselves as we're going on here. And the first question is this. What am I, or I'll say to you, what are you looking for? And the second question is, who are you looking up to? Who are you looking up to? Now, or who do you look up to? I guess we could say it that way. Now, these are two questions you may not even have been thinking about asking them. But for a minute, if you will, sort of like when you go to the doctor and the doctor says, here, let me check your pulse, or here, let me check your heartbeat, or here, let me draw some blood and check your blood. In a spiritual way, we kind of do the same thing, where sometimes we kind of take a little checkup. We take a checkup where we ask ourselves certain questions such as, what are we looking for, or who do I look up to? These kinds of questions. And so when I'm asking the question, what are we looking for? Let me tell you what maybe your answer could be, or what our answers can be. When we ask people, what are you looking for? Some people say they are looking for this. They are looking for money. They are looking for it. I walked one time with a person and they were doing their little walk in the morning and through the parking lot of certain stores, and they would come up with $3, $4 and change every time they walked. And then so they would walk but they were looking for money. Some people are looking for money. Some people are looking for fame. Some of us maybe want to be famous one day. Want people to know me. So when they hear my name, oh yeah, I know that person. I know this person, and we have that name. I saw Muhammad Ali one time walking through the airport in Miami, and a famous person. Not only because of the 30 people around him who were circling him as he walked, but of course, it's Muhammad Ali, the fighter. And so I saw him, famous. We see famous people sometimes. This name may not mean much to many of you, but one time I was eating at the Golden Corral in Dunn, North Carolina, and there sitting next to me all by himself was Edwin Meese. Now, that may not mean much to any of you, but he was a big political mucky-muck with Ronald Reagan. And he would just sit there eating the steak all by himself in the Golden Corral. I was just, hey, I know him. Oh, when I went down to San Francisco a few months ago, and again, this name may not mean much to you, but I was eating at a restaurant, and right there, next table over was Bruce Bowen, San Antonio Spurs. Okay, just eating with his family, like normal. And again, he's just a normal guy, but famous. Ooh, some people want to be famous. Ooh, I want everybody to know who I am. Some people, they want to be. Yeah, I had this picture taken of me this morning before I came. Except it's yellow. Some people want an image of being attractive and healthy and attractive. Some people, and this is the best I can come up with, what are you looking for? Some people are looking for, that is an image to me of power. All these people under my sway. I wish I could just snap and people would do. That's what I'm looking for. Not necessarily money or fame or health, but how about power? I'm looking for power. Now, we're big boys and girls here, but I couldn't find an image. Of course, I didn't really want to look for one. But some people are, of course, looking for this. And that's another thing. Okay, big boys and girls, it's not a cuss word, okay, but it's a reality. Some people are looking for this. They're looking for money or power or sex or health or fame or something. What are you looking for? What are you looking for? What are you looking for? Well, the question is, what is God looking for? God's looking for something as well. God is looking for something. Now, we look for certain things in life, but in John chapter 4, we have a little story of Jesus. You know it real well. I'm going to reiterate of what God is looking for. for. I'll read it off the wall with you. However, if you have your Bibles, you can flip to it for your devices. Read John chapter 4. John chapter 4. I believe I have up here the NLT, I believe it is. Therefore, and so it's 24 verses, so stay with me. Stay with me on the story. Here we go. Therefore, when the Lord knew that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself did not baptize, but his disciples did, he left Judea and departed again to Galilee, and he needed to go through Samaria. Okay, so Jesus is leaving, going through Samaria, and he came to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near the plot of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, being wearied from his journey, sat by the well. It was about the 6th hour. It was about the 6th hour, which would be, I believe, about noonish, I believe. A woman of Samaria came to draw water, and Jesus said, "Give me a drink." Now, 2 strikes here. She's a woman. You don't talk to women back then in public. Number 2, she's Samaritan. A Jew doesn't talk to a Samaritan at all. 2 strikes. And his disciples had gone away to buy food. And the woman said to him, "How is it that you, being a Jew, ask a drink of me, a Samaritan woman? Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." Jesus said to her, "If you knew the gift of God, and who it is that says to you, 'Give me to drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." And then verse 11, the woman said to him, "Sir, you don't have anything to draw with, and the well is deep. Where then do you get that living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as well as his sons and livestock?" And Jesus said to her, "Whoever drinks of this water will thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water that I give him will never thirst." The water that, I gotta stop a minute. You know, when we truly experience God, and I speak of myself, and I think it's true for all of us, when I truly experience God, I lose my thirst for other things. When I truly experience God, help me God to truly experience you. But the water I give him will become in him a fountain of water, springing up unto everlasting life. Now, before we get to verse 15, Jesus had a little conversation with a woman, and he's talking about something inside. She's talking about H2O. The woman says to him, "Sir, give me this water, and I may not thirst, and I don't have to come here and draw anymore." And Jesus said to her, "Go call your husband. You come here." The woman answered and said, "I don't have a husband." Jesus said to her, "You have well said, I don't have a husband. You have had 5 husbands, and you're living now with someone who is not your husband." He's speaking like a prophet here. He's what they say, reading her mail. That's what they call reading your mail. When someone speaks a prophet word. Time out before we move on. That happened to me over here at the KM one time. We had that minister come in, and he called me out. And none of you know this. Nobody knows this but Carol. And he said something about my right shoulder. My right shoulder has been in pain for years. And he spoke a word to me about that. And it was like, okay, that's got to be a God reading my mail. Because no one knows about that. I've never broadcast that. That's kind of what Jesus was doing here. He was speaking a truth. Kind of harsh. But he wasn't meant to be harsh. Because then the woman said, in verse 19, then the woman says this. "Sir, I perceive you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, and you Jews say Jerusalem is the place where one ought to worship." So she's touching on this thing of worship we talked about, and then Jesus says this. "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father." It won't be we're at SKPC or Sacramento Zion or Central or whatever. You know how we do. We have our different church names. And we sometimes invest more importance in this place than in that place. You know what I'm saying? We're over here at this church, but we're not at Capital Christian Center. And so we invest importance in that place or in this place. Jesus says, don't invest importance in the place anymore. You worship what you do not know. We know what we worship. Salvation is of the Jews, came from the Jews to the world. But the hour is coming. In fact, the hour now is when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father is seeking. What is God looking for? The Father is seeking such to worship Him. Let's time out for a minute. If I can flesh this out. God's looking. He's looking for worshipers. I found one. He's looking. Don't mind me. I won't perish. But He's looking for worshipers. I found one. God's looking for worshipers. I think I found one. I found one. God's looking for worshipers. Well, God, I'm sorry, 24, back to 24. God is spirit, and those who worship Him must worship Him in spirit and truth. And then it ends. The woman said to Him, I know the Messiah is coming, called the Christ. When He comes, He'll tell us all things. Did He just do that to the woman? And so Jesus said to her, I am He. I who speak to you. I am He. God is looking for something. God is looking for someone. God is looking for worshipers. God is looking for you. He's looking for you. Now, I'm not going to give you textbook, but in the textbook, if I can give you this much, worship, and I picked out one, there's a bunch of them, means an ardent admiration and love. Meaning that's a fire. Set a fire down in my heart. Set a fire down in my soul. An ardent fire, admiration and love. It means it's not just I like him or her. It's I love him or God. I have an ardent admiration or love. And then I thought about this. In the flesh, it's this way. That's applied to God. It's someone whose approval you seek. Someone whose opinion you value. Someone whose direction you follow. We don't have too many people like that on earth. We may have a few, family members, friends, or whatever. Someone really tight with us, you know what I'm saying? We may have that. That is what we apply to God. To have an ardent admiration of Him. So we say, I want His approval. We have received it. I want His opinion. We have received it. I want His direction. We have received it. That is worship. It's a funny thing about God. Are you looking for God? God's looking for you. Have you ever had that happen? Where someone's coming up here, here comes Walter. What are we looking for? I'm looking for Eric. Well, he's looking for you. And so, hey, there's Eric. I'm looking for Walter. Well, he's looking for you. But they can't find each other. And you ever had that happen when we're looking for people? Where's Misuk? She's over in the fellowship hall. Okay, we go over to the fellowship hall. And Misuk says, where's Lindy? Well, he's over in the car. Okay, well, and they're looking for each other. That kind of thing. God's looking for us. And here's the funny thing about God. When I go looking for God, He finds me. When I go looking for God, God finds me. When you go looking for God, God will find you. Here's the deal. You looking for God? Who are you looking for? What are you looking for? Money, fame, power, health, sex, whatever else? That stuff will not quench our thirst, our spiritual hunger. Worship is a way of acknowledging this. Worship is a way of acknowledging there's only one that will satisfy my life, that I will not need to go back. And Jesus taught this woman in the Bible story in John 4, but He's talking to you and me today, October 4th, 2014, here at Zion EM, the same thing. Did you come this morning, or are you now, once you're here this morning, looking for God? That's the cool thing about God. If I just say, okay, I'm going to look for Him, as I live my life that day, somewhere He finds me. He finds me. If God knows your heart is really for Him, He'll make His way to you. He'll get a way to you. Which leads to the second question. Not only who are you looking for, but who do you look up to, or who are you worshiping? I changed this just for who do you look up to also. Who are you worshiping? You know what? Everybody this morning, if there's an atheist among us, I got to tell you, that person still worships. Everybody worships. Everyone. An agnostic is someone who just says, I don't know. If you look at the word agnostic, Gnostic, meaning not agnostic? No. An agnostic is not necessarily an atheist. An agnostic is a person who says, we just don't know yet. Somewhat a scientific mind, perhaps. And so that's not actually a bad thing, unless it gets in the way of God. Agnostic, or atheist, or whatever else, unbeliever, whatever you want to call yourself. Everybody, you, everybody here this morning worships. For instance, some people worship themselves. Hey, you're looking really good today. Oh yeah. Now, some people like that. They worship, and we may not bow down to ourselves, but some of us put ourselves number one in our lives. And we may not do this. Well, maybe not them yet. We may not do this, but in some way we consider ourselves, where we give our love to ourselves first of all, and then the next one. Some people love celebrity. Yeah. And so did you hear what Brad Pitt said? Did you hear what Bradley Cooper did? Oh, there's Ellen DeGeneres. And some people worship celebrity. I gotta find out. I gotta get my TMZ. I gotta see what's happening, you know? I gotta read my People magazine. Some people do that. Oh, there's Kevin Spacey back there. Wow, he's my favorite. Some people worship. Well, there's a long line. You can throw out anything. A long line of possibilities of what people might worship. Some people worship their job. My job is the most important thing in my whole life. You know what? I'll let go of everything else. I can't let go of my job. And their job is it. That's the big thing. They worship their job. As if that is the sole source of their meaning in life. Some people, and this is not a bad thing, but it can happen. Some people worship their children. If you're a mom or dad, you understand. If you're still not a mom or dad, you won't understand this. But some moms and dads worship their children. Oh yeah. Little honey boo boo princess can do no wrong. And we worship them. We worship them. And we treat them like they are God's gift. And we treat them like we own them. And not that God has lent them to us. Just a little while. Then they grow up. And they sometimes go away. And this is what we worship. By the way, I don't think this is a problem with any of you, but some people worship their mom or dad. No, actually, I'm not there yet. Their mom or dad. But I don't think any of you worship your mom or dad. You adore your mom or dad, maybe, huh? I know that's what my kids are. You know, Dad, you're embarrassing me. But some people do. Now, what you got to know is this is temporary. Family is the closest thing to forever when you get down on this earth, but it's not even forever. It's not. I thank God for family. You should too. Yeah. But it's not forever. I don't worship my family. Oh, here's the next one. Thank you, Gilbert. Some people have this goal in life. Here's what I want to be. Here's what I want to do. And everything else, including and especially God, is down below. But it's got to, this is my life, my goal. Here's what I'm going to be. Here's what I'm going to do. And that is my controlling desire. That is my master passion. Some people are like that. Jesus addressed all this when he spoke in John chapter 4. And he said, God looks for people who worship him in spirit, that is, in their spirit, on the inside, and in truth, that is, by his truth. There can be fake worship, you know. Just like there can be fake greetings, like people say, so good to see you. Yeah. You know, that's fake. You know what I'm saying? That's fake. Sometimes we do the same things that we just do it this way. I love you, Lord. Yes. Set a fire down in my soul. Yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah. And we're fake. Help me, God, not to be fake. I'd rather be nothing than be fake. Don't want to be fake. Albert Einstein had a cool little quote. I found this. He said, if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal. Not that people or things. Now, I'm going to take this in a minute, because it's not that he's a very smart man, but I'm going to let's make it God. He says, if you want to learn to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not people or things. For us Christians, here's the statement. God is my goal. God is my goal. When we worship, we are tying ourselves to God, who is our goal. Not the job, not the family, not the money, not the image, not the self, not anything else, which is all part of life. But God. He is my goal. So when John and the rest are up here leading in worship, it's not a matter of saying, what's wrong with Eric? How come he's not singing? No. That's not our judgment to make. I'm picking on Eric, sorry. It's a front row thing, by the way, so I'm sorry. It's not that. It's not, what's wrong with Eric? No, it's not that at all. It's not our place to make that judgment. But God comes. You don't mind me picking on you, Eric, if you don't mind. And this is uncertain. God says, Eric, I'm looking for worshipers, and you're not one of them. What's wrong? What can I do to help you see I'm supposed to be number one? And this is the way God approaches us. He approaches us not with a rod of correction or anger, but with a cross of love. And He's looking for a worshiper. I'm looking. Are you one of these? God is my goal. If God is my goal, I will be a worshiper. Hey, and however you express it, whatever you do, that's to me not the major importance. Jesus said, God is looking for spirit, John 4:24, and truth. Here's the way I say it. When I worship God, my worship declares this. When you sing the songs and pray the prayers and listen to the Bible and do your best to stay awake during church and fellowship when we're shaking hands and whatever else it is we're going to do, it's our way of saying, God, you are my goal. You are my number one. You are the one in my life. In fact, I said it a different way. Only one can be number one. Only one can be number one. God is my goal. So who's number one in your life? Jesus was talking to this woman at the well in John 4:24, and He was zoning into who's number one in their life. Now, for some people, number one is in the mirror. That's their life. We are like, and we tend to be this way. Humans, sinful humans, that's us, tend to be selfish, self-centered. It's difficult for us to break out of ourselves and into the Lord and His people. But we have someone. Everyone serves somebody. Everyone worships something and someone. A lot of people nowadays worship the almighty dollar. They worship money because they feel like that's their security. If they don't have money, I'm not secure. I'm not trying to be big and brash and bold and all that kind of stuff here, but let me tell you something. Our security is not in the money. Security is not in our clothes. Your nice clothes. I like nice clothes, believe it or not. Carol bought me this shirt, it's brand new. I like nice clothes. If I can fit into them, among other things, and afford them, I like nice clothes. But clothing is not who we are. God is who we are. And only God can be number one. Only God. Moses says it this way. Let's go back to Old Testament, back and look at Exodus. Moses says it this way in Exodus 20. Well, actually, God does, through Moses. God speaks and says, listen to this. This is the gospel. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods. It's number one of the 10. It's number one. Very first one is, who's number one in your life? No other gods. Be worshipful. Now, when we sing our songs, it's our way of refocusing on God as number one. It's our way of declaring God as number one. It's our way of our hearts of zeroing in on the Father. And everything else kind of falls by the wayside. Our desire for a good reputation, our desire for a lot of money, our desire for a husband or wife, our desire for knowing what the future holds, and all this kind of stuff. All that fades away. Our worry about the future and our regret about the past all fades away in the presence of the great I am. The great I am. Somebody, something is at the top of your list. Only one can be number one? Well, somebody or something is at the top of your list. Before we close in prayer, you got to think a minute. You got to do your homework here, and it's in-class homework. Pop quiz. Don't take out a piece of paper. Take out your heart and ask yourself, what or who is at the top of my life? Now, we're in church. Hey, that's cool. Not going to fault you for that. That's decent. Glad you are. I'm glad. Thank you. And I don't mean to do this to you, but I gotta tell you, just coming to church doesn't mean that God's number one in your life. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't necessarily follow that because I'm in church, therefore God's number one. You know, it's like the old saying. It's silly, but it's true. You know, I could live in my garage doesn't make me a car. I can live or come to church. It doesn't make me a Christian. Sure, it helps me to stay one, to become one, to be among Christians. But coming to church is not where it's at. It's who's number one in your life. Some people come to church to make good impressions. You know that? I talked about this way tonight. I know business people who come to church for contacts. That's all. They don't care about God. They don't care about, but they like the networking. I got a prospective sale here, so I'm going to go to church. That's not what we want. Who's number one? Somebody or something is. Worship. I close with this. What we do when we worship. Worship helps establish, reestablish. I'm going to keep this up here for a minute. Let this sink in as we pray. Worship helps reestablish and maintain God. You don't have to worship. You can come and don't think I don't know. You can come mess around on your phone while we're preaching and saying, I know you can. You know, that's the chance we take. I do it in class too. I know people looking on Facebook while I'm teaching. What can I do? You know, what can I do? I know people in church mess on their computer, internet device during church. What can I do? What can I do? Nothing. That's it. I'm not going to bless you out for it. You know. Well, who's going to want it? If God calls, you're going to take His call. When we worship God, we're saying, God, nobody else has first place in my life but you. Not him, not her, not him, not her, not even me. You. And when we sing songs like "It Set a Fire Down in My Soul," when we sing a song like that, we are reconnecting with God and reminding ourselves, put Him first.